The night hung heavy over the Philippine coastline. A strange calm had settled over the water, so deep and silent that every splash of a boot or ripple of a wave sounded impossibly loud. The Marines joked quietly among themselves, trying to shake off the unease that clung to their shoulders like damp clothes. But beneath the surface, something waited. One of them, Private John M., leaned closer to peer into the dark waters. The moonlight glinted off the ripples, a glimmering path that led straight to the unknown. He reached down, curious, cautious, and then it happened. A sudden pull, violent, dragging him beneath, a cry that no one could fully hear, a struggle that the sea swallowed instantly, leaving nothing but stunned silence. His comrades froze, hearts hammering, eyes searching. The waves calm again, betraying nothing of the struggle beneath. They called his name, shouted, splashed. But the water remained indifferent. The current had claimed him, or perhaps something far older, far stranger, than any known hazard of the Gulf. Military logs later recorded the event with almost clinical detachment. Private M., fate unknown, dragged under during routine patrol. Witness statements conflicting. No equipment recovered. Words meant to categorize, to confine, yet failing entirely to capture the horror, the uncertainty, the whisper of the impossible. Local fishermen had long told stories of lakas ng kadiliman, the strength of darkness, spirits of the deep that roamed the Philippine waters, pulling the unwary into their abyss. Some spoke of glowing shapes beneath the waves, others of muffled singing that rose from nowhere, a song that promised death or disappearance and seemed to linger long after the voices had faded. The Marines had never believed in such tales, not at first. Yet in that instant, staring at the empty water where their comrade had vanished, even the most skeptical felt it. A presence, watching, waiting, deliberate, patient. Days later, echoes of the event spread through barracks and letters home, whispered conversations in hushed tones, personal diaries recording the disbelief, the fear, the questions that could never be answered. Who or what had claimed him? Was it the sea, a current, a natural hazard, or had the legends of the deep whispered their truth at last? The waters held their secret dark and silent, patient, a reminder that some mysteries are never meant to be solved. And as the moon rose higher, reflecting off the restless surface, one could almost feel a pulse beneath it, a slow, deliberate rhythm, as if the ocean itself were alive, watching, judging, waiting for the next soul to wander too close. The Philippine archipelago stretched across the Pacific like a chain of scattered emeralds, each island dense with jungle mangroves and hidden coves. The ocean whispered against the shore, waves lapping in a rhythm that was both soothing and unsettling. Beneath the surface, something watched, patient and unseen. Leyte Gulf had become a strategic point for the Allied forces, teeming with landing craft supply ships and scattered patrols. Yet along the fringes away from the main fleet, the islands seemed suspended in isolation, silent, as if holding secrets older than the war itself. Private John M. and his squad moved cautiously along the coastline, boots sinking into sand mixed with coral, rifles ready, senses heightened. The night air was thick with humidity, salt, and the faint scent of diesel from distant landing craft. Every sound, each wave, each bird call was amplified in the tense silence. Occasional distant gunfire echoed from other sectors, reminders that the conflict, though nearing its end, remained unpredictable. The men joked quietly, trying to mask their fear, laughter brittle thin. Yet eyes never strayed far from the dark waters, ever alert. Local fishermen and villagers had long whispered of lakas ng kadiliman, strength of darkness, spirits of the deep who claimed the unwary. Tales spoke of glowing shapes beneath the waves, muffled cries carried by currents, a song that lured men into eternal silence. Most Marines dismissed these as superstition, yet unease lingered, a subtle recognition that legend often springs from fragments of truth. Private John M. paused at the water's edge, moonlight casting silver streaks across the ripples. His reflection danced and twisted. Shadows beneath the surface shifted, fleeting, almost deliberate. He leaned closer, curiosity overtaking caution, unaware that the boundary between natural and supernatural had thinned. The squad noticed anomalies, currents that moved against expectation, shadows that vanished when stared at, faint glimmers beneath the waves. No one spoke aloud, but all felt it. A presence. Patient, observant, almost sentient. Military logs recorded the patrol route with meticulous care. Times, distances, equipment accounted for. Yet they failed to capture the tension, the anticipatory dread that wrapped around each man like a wet blanket. Diaries mentioned something watching the water not as it should be. Phrases hinting at a presence both real and incomprehensible. Even skeptics could not ignore what they saw. Shadows moving independently of the currents, a chill rising from still waters, distant cries that sounded human but distorted. Villagers confirmed such phenomena in hushed whispers. Lights beneath the waves, boats adrift with no crew, eerie songs of the deep that defied explanation. The line between documented fact and folklore blurred. The squad pressed on, every step deliberate. Each ripple, each distant sound magnified, heightening awareness, wariness, fear. The combination of isolation fatigue and the uncanny created a perfect storm, a night poised for catastrophe. As Private John M. approached a particularly dark stretch of reef, the context of War Patrol isolation folklore and unseen forces converged. The ocean seemed to pause, patient, silent, almost expectant, ready to reveal its first act, a mystery that would haunt these men and ripple through reports, diaries, and whispered legends for decades. Above all, the night held its secret, indifferent to human concern. The moon casting silver paths on restless waves, a rhythm that echoed like a heartbeat, waiting, watching, marking the stage for the tragedy about to unfold. Military records provide a sparse account. Terse, clinical, almost detached. Private John M. Fate unknown, dragged under during routine patrol. No equipment recovered. Witness statements conflicting. The words offer clarity, yet conceal more than they reveal. A singular disappearance, officially unexplained, leaving a void that fact alone cannot fill. Eyewitness testimony varied. Some recalled seeing John struggle, the water moving unnaturally. Others described the surface rippling without wind. The waves seemed to pull him, a force deliberate and precise. None could recover him, and no immediate search yielded results. Just empty water and mounting fear. A helmet later washed ashore, scratched, sand embedded in every crevice, but empty. The Marine inside never recovered. It became a tangible reminder that something had intervened, something beyond ordinary understanding. Diaries from fellow Marines noted the event with unease. Phrases like "the sea took him in a way words cannot describe" or "I saw something in the water." Not human, not natural, hinting at an acknowledgement of the inexplicable. Photographs of the coastal patrol survive. Images of Marines near the edge of the reef. Shadows cast long under moonlight. But nothing shows what occurred beneath the surface. The camera cannot capture that which defies sight, that which lurks just beyond comprehension. Military logs also hint at suppressed details, reports marked classified or sensitive, orders to limit discussion, sketches of the reef annotated with cryptic notes, currents odd, shadows observed, avoid patrol after dark. Even the bureaucratic language betrays unease, the unspoken knowledge that the official account could never encompass the full truth. Other similar incidents were recorded across the Pacific. Men disappearing near reefs, lagoons, or river mouths. Patterns emerged. Strange currents, sudden pull beneath calm waters, shadows glimpsed. Some historians note that these were often dismissed as accidents, yet repeated occurrences hint at a motif too consistent to ignore. The physical evidence is scant. A helmet, footprints abruptly ending at water's edge, ripples in the sand. Yet every fragment suggests interference, some unknown force. Some marines noted sensations, pressure under the feet, a drag in the water, as if the sea itself had become animate. Whispers in the currents, the faint, almost musical resonance of voices, impossible to identify. Letters home convey confusion and fear. Young soldiers writing about events that defy explanation. Attempts to rationalize strong currents, bad footing, but instinct betrays them. They knew something unnatural had occurred. Their words preserved in archives reveal a psychological tension, the collision of training and terror, discipline and instinct. In base hospitals, some Marines later recounted dreams or flashbacks of the night, recurring images of dark shapes beneath waves, a voice calling, a pull at the ankles. The line between memory, fear, and possibly something external became indistinct. The fact layer interweaves with the human experience, the subjective perception of an event that official logs cannot fully capture. The record sparse yet persistent leaves questions unanswered. How could a trained Marine vanish so completely? How could no equipment or trace remain? Military investigation notes hint at frustration. The sea was deemed safe for routine patrol, yet the men knew better. The dichotomy of fact and lived experience begins to blur, reality and legend intertwining. Long before the war touched these islands, fishermen and villagers spoke of lakas ng kadiliman, the strength of darkness, a force that dwelled beneath the Philippine waters. They said it could feel the presence of the living, choosing its prey with patient deliberation. Some spoke of glowing shapes under the waves, others of muffled voices that rose from nowhere, a song that seemed human, yet carried an otherworldly resonance. The elders recounted stories of men vanishing while casting nets, boats drifting empty into the dawn, currents pulling unexpectedly, screams swallowed by the sea. Yet these tales were often dismissed as superstition, as exaggeration, until the events of June 1945, when even trained Marines could not deny the uncanny. Witnesses whispered about the night, a shimmer beneath the surface, dark shapes moving contrary to current, sometimes appearing humanoid, sometimes amorphous. As Private John M. approached the water, the locals said the spirits could sense fear, could feed on it, could pull a man under as easily as a net drags a fish. Some Marines swore they heard faint singing, a melody carried through the water, words indistinct, yet hauntingly familiar. The song seemed to beckon, soft at first, then urgent, a lure impossible to resist. And in those moments, the line between legend and fact blurred. The water no longer just a physical barrier, but a threshold into the unknown. Stories told by villagers spoke of a pact long forgotten, of restless spirits who guarded sacred waters. They claimed that anyone crossing certain reefs after dusk risked a visit from those who would not allow intrusion. Some described glowing eyes beneath the surface, circles of phosphorescence that moved with intention, shapes that seemed to watch, to wait, to judge. One fisherman recalled his own encounter, his boat rocking despite still water, a shadow beneath that did not obey waves. His oar tugged as if held by an invisible hand. He survived, yet the memory haunted him, a warning passed down to the next generation, and now echoed in the accounts of the Marines. Even skeptics began to notice the patterns. Reports from other patrols mentioned sudden disappearances, unusual currents, and shadows beneath the waves that could not be explained by wind or tide. Folklore once dismissed began to gain credibility. The stories of Lakas ng Kadiliman were not merely warnings, they were records of encounters, fragments of truth encoded in myth. The song of the deep lingered in memory, recalled in whispered diaries, the sound of something calling from beneath, a melody that promised escape knowledge or death. The men remembered it differently, yet all felt its weight, a presence ancient, patient, indifferent to human concerns. In the quiet of the barracks, Marines debated, was it the sea, or the spirits, or both? Some argued for natural explanations, rogue currents, unseen reefs. Others felt a chill, a certainty, that what had claimed John M. was beyond understanding. Folklore had stepped into reality, shaping perception, bending fear, marking the night as extraordinary. By morning the patrol had returned, shaken, changed. Even those who had mocked the legends earlier now spoke of them with gravity. The ocean had become more than water. It had become a repository of memory, of warning, of something that would not forgive intrusion. The line between myth and reality was forever blurred. The story of John M.'s disappearance did not only reside in logs or diaries. It lived in the whispers of villagers, in the songs carried by the tide, in the shadow beneath every wave. The folklore of Lakas ng Kadiliman had merged with the history of war, leaving a record impossible to ignore. Across the vast expanse of the Pacific, whispers of the unexplained traveled faster than the war itself. Reports of Marines disappearing near reefs, lagoons, and river mouths. Bodies claimed by currents. Shadows glimpsed beneath calm waters. The stories were too similar, too patterned, to dismiss as coincidence. Months earlier in the Solomon Islands, an entire patrol vanished. Their boat found adrift, rifles still secured, footprints ending abruptly at the water's edge. Official reports called it an accident. Yet survivors, though few, remembered seeing something move beneath the surface, a shape deliberate, almost conscious. On the islands of Guam, sailors and local villagers spoke of phosphorescent glimmers beneath the waves, circles of light that shifted against the current, shapes that were sometimes humanoid, sometimes amorphous, and always observing. There was a shared instinctual fear, a sensation that one was being measured, assessed, marked. Naval logs often recorded these incidents with the same terse language. Sailor missing, circumstances unknown, no equipment recovered, sparse words that hint at terror, entries that conceal more than they reveal. Yet within the repetition of these reports, a pattern emerged. The sea was no longer neutral. It had become participant-predator, an actor in its own narrative. Local folklore intertwined with these facts. Lakas ng Kadiliman, whispered for generations, seemed to echo across islands. Each incident resonated with the legend. Men taken by unseen forces, currents behaving unnaturally, the water singing with a voice only the lost could hear. The Marines began to realize that myth was more than story, it was warning. Even in Hawaii, years before, sailors recounted waters that pulled without warning, dragging swimmers, small boats, and sometimes entire crews into invisible whirlpools. They called it the ghost waters, initially dismissed, until similar accounts surfaced across the Pacific, suggesting an enduring patient force. Reports from other patrols reinforced the motif. shadows beneath the waves, sudden disappearances, and inexplicable ripples that seemed to have intent. Skeptics could not ignore the repeated pattern, a thread connecting incidents across geography, time, and unit. The presence was persistent, undeniable. Eyewitness diaries painted a chilling picture, descriptions of shapes beneath the water, luminous eyes watching, limbs or figures moving in ways impossible for human physiology. And yet the water appeared calm on the surface, an eerie duality that made belief difficult and fear immediate. Letters home from Marines revealed their psychological strain, attempts to rationalize, strong currents, hidden reefs, yet instinct told them differently. Something alive, ancient, observing, and taking what it chose. These accounts bridged the gap between official records and lived experience, between fact and legend. As tales spread quietly among barracks and encampments, whispers of unseen forces gained weight. Even those who mocked folklore became wary. A quiet respect for the ocean's hidden depths, the recognition that the waters themselves had memory, patience, purpose, and perhaps malice. The pattern extended beyond mere disappearance. Equipment missing, footprints ending, sounds heard from nowhere. A motif repeated with unnerving precision, across islands, patrols, and generations. The Pacific was no longer a backdrop. It had become an entity, watching, judging, deciding who would remain and who would vanish. By the time Private John M.'s story reached other units, the bridge was clear. The motif was undeniable. Legend and fact converged. Reports and folklore intertwined. A network of shadows, currents, and whispers. A Pacific-wide tapestry of the unknown. Each disappearance, each shadow beneath the waves, echoed the others, and hinted that something older than the war itself waited beneath, patient, deliberate, unseen. The night had grown impossibly dark, clouds swallowing the moonlight. The Philippine waters shimmered faintly, but the glimmer belied a menace lurking just beneath the surface. Private John M. approached the reef cautiously, boots crunching against sand and coral, every step measured, every breath deliberate. A sudden pull jerked him forward, violent, immediate, as if the water itself had seized him. He screamed, a sound swallowed by the waves, his hands clawing at nothing. His comrades rushed to grab him, but their fingers met only empty water. Silence, and the cold bite of the unseen, eyes wide, hearts hammering. The Marines stared. The surface appeared calm, too calm. No current, no wind, no explanation. Yet ripples moved unnaturally, curling and twisting in patterns that defied logic. Something deliberate, something alive. Some swore they glimpsed him struggling beneath the water, limbs flailing, face twisted in fear, then gone. Others insisted the reef was empty, unnervingly still. A helmet floated briefly bobbing, then disappeared, leaving an emptiness that echoed through memory. Diary entries recorded by the squad capture the terror. I saw him pulled down by something, not human, not natural. A shadow in the water that moved with intention. I cannot explain it. Words hastily scrawled, trembling hands, a personal testament to the horror. The reef seemed alive, currents twisting and turning without cause, phosphorescent glimmers beneath the waves, eyes that appeared briefly, intelligent, aware, predatory. The sea had become participant, not backdrop, an actor in its own drama. Equipment vanished in moments, a rifle floating then sinking, boots and gear dragged beneath. Sand disturbed as if by invisible hands. Logs recorded the details, but no words could convey the tension, the dread, the impossible presence that watched. Fishermen confirmed. The reef had long been considered cursed, boats lost, men vanished, lights moving beneath the waves, songs that were human yet unearthly, whispers carried by the tide, blending fact and folklore into a single terrifying narrative. Voices in the squad conflicted. Some claimed limbs dragged beneath the surface. Others heard faint singing, melodic, human-like, yet undeniably other. Some saw nothing, yet all felt it. An ancient intelligence, patient, deliberate, aware of every move. Officers tried to piece together the events. Reports, sensitive statements, contradictory, sketches annotated with warnings. Do not patrol after dark. Currents anomalous. Shadows observed. Official records failed, leaving only fragments of terror. The psychological toll was immediate. Marines trembled. Nightmares of dark shapes beneath waves. Hallucinations of reaching hands. Every ripple, every shadow, suspicious. The reef had become a theater of fear. Reality bending into legend. By dawn, the patrol returned, shattered. Voices, low eyes haunted. A helmet missing, a comrade gone. Shadows lingering in memory. Diaries filled with observations, sketches of the reef, and an unshakable sense of something beyond comprehension. Something alive, patient, watching, ready to claim the next. The dawn broke slowly over the Philippine waters, a pale light washing across the reef. Yet the calm betrayed nothing of what had occurred. The Marines returned, silent, eyes haunted, hearts heavy. Private John M. was gone, swallowed by the sea, or perhaps claimed by something far older, far stranger than anyone could understand. Diaries captured the aftermath, words trembling across the page. The water watches. It waits. It knows. I felt it. I know it did. Phrases that carried the weight of terror, not just of the physical loss, but of something unseen, something patient, deliberate, alive beneath the waves. Villagers continued to whisper their legends, stories of lakas ng kadiliman, of spirits and shadows that haunted the reef, glowing shapes under the water, muffled cries, haunting songs that drifted with the currents. The ocean itself became a repository of memory, of warning, of power beyond comprehension. Even the most skeptical Marines could not dismiss the unease, their training colliding with instinct, logic challenged by observation, by the impossibility of what had been seen, or what they had felt. The line between fact and folklore blurred, a reality forever altered by a single night, a single disappearance. Naval logs remained cryptic, marked sensitive or classified, sketches noting anomalous currents, warnings about shadows beneath the waves. No explanation offered. No body, no evidence, only absence, silence, and the memory of what could not be understood. Over time, the story spread quietly among sailors, Marines, and coastal communities. Whispers of vanished men, strange currents, and unseen presences. Patterns repeated. A network of inexplicable events. A motif that spanned islands, patrols, and decades. The Pacific holding its secrets tightly, patiently, watching. Psychologists later examined survivor accounts, noting heightened anxiety, recurring dreams, hallucinations. Marines described shadows moving independently of the current, songs beneath the waves, a sense of unseen eyes. The water had become more than an environment. It had become a participant, a teacher of fear, a keeper of memory. The reef remained deceptively serene, sun glinting on the surface, yet beneath currents moved with intent, shapes unseen, patterns that eluded human comprehension. The ocean had claimed one, and it waited, ready to claim the next. Historians debated natural explanations, rogue currents, underwater hazards, but patterns repeated, accounts corroborated, legends echoed reality, fact and folklore intertwined, creating a story that defied resolution. Each new reading or retelling renewed the tension, the uncertainty, the dread. As the morning progressed, the ocean shimmered, calm, silent, a deceptive tranquility. Yet those who knew its stories sensed its presence, the pulse beneath, deliberate, patient, eternal. And questions lingered, unanswered, unanswerable, waiting for the next observer. So we ask ourselves, what truly dwells beneath the calm of these waters? What force claimed Private John M? How many more secrets remain hidden in the shadows, in the depths, beyond reach, beyond understanding? The answers may never come, and yet the fear remains, alive, persistent, waiting. You have just heard another file from Echoes of the Unknown, a tale of disappearance, of legend converging with reality. If you wish to explore more, subscribe, follow the whispers, and remember, the water watches, patient, ready, silent, unseen. The Pacific remains vast, indifferent, yet to those who know its stories, it is alive, a constant presence beneath the surface, waiting, observing, its secrets far from fully revealed. Perhaps some truths are not meant to be uncovered, only sensed, feared, remembered. And as you imagine the sun reflecting off the restless waves, ask yourself, what waits beneath, unseen, silent, patient, ready for the next who dares approach, the next who dares to look too closely.